Because,
for example,
permit me to just come in here, because
looking at both sides of the coin, because those are visuals in a report that was done from your state, it was reported that the state of infrastructure in primary schools there, for instance, looking at the case study, using Bauchi as a case study, by extension, maybe some other states in the north, is really bad, with students having to go through harrowing experiences. Some of them even, we have complaints of students going to school under trees. What has happened to the allocations? You said it's 20% in your state that's allocated to education. How much of that is being expended to improve training for teachers, for instance?
Yeah, there's a corresponding, you know, apart from the devotion of 20% to education, there's also corresponding releases, because we walk our talk, because beyond the budgetary provision, we also make available this fund. Yes, a lot of it also to teacher, training the teacher. We have this step-down program where you train, build capacity, retrain the teachers, because education at this level is basic, is the foundation. Subsequent acquisition of education, if you don't have a very sound foundation, chances are that you don't get everything right. So a lot of that amount is devoted to teacher training and retraining. Like I said, there's a step-down program for building capacity, for addressing these anomalies detected, which, like I said earlier, from years of neglect. And then you saw the narrative is changing.
Okay, that's a good place. The narrative is changing. But let's get you in, Mr. Oche. Is it acceptable that actions of the Kaduna State Governor to sack about 22,000 teachers, is it permissible? Because NOLGE, the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, argues that the governor is merely trying to downsize the workforce under the guise of teachers being unqualified in this competency test. So where did Kaduna State miss it?
Well, thank you, Gimba, for having me. I will start by saying that I support the actions of the governor in totality, completely. First, because every endeavor in life begins with a foundation. And the moment you get the foundation wrong, every other thing is going to go wrong. And I do not understand when you have teachers who cannot pass the very same tests which they set for their students, and then come back to tell me that exams are not true tests of knowledge. So what then, how then do they promote the students? Now, if he does not do what he had done, then I don't see anything else he needs to do. It is not a case of downsizing, because first and foremost, the salaries of the primary school teachers are not paid from the state government. It is paid from the federal government. It goes directly from federal government to the primary school teachers. It has no business with the state government. So it is not a case of the Kaduna State governor trying to downsize the teaching size, but trying as much as possible to rewrite the narrative, change the narrative of what has been going on in our educational sector. Because I dare say, it's not just Kaduna State alone.
Yeah, permit to button, because it would seem that other states, exactly, my thoughts exactly, it would seem that other states may be faced with the same kind of challenge. What will you suggest to members of the Executive Council who were on a retreat with Mr. President on this just before he went to Anambra State? Of course, with your background as a lawmaker.
Yes, my take would be this. First, there was a time when the education policy in this country, for teachers particularly, was the basic minimum was a teacher grade 2 or teacher certificate 2. And then they went on and said, okay, it should be, you must have an NCE, National Certificate on Education. Then it got even to a point where you said, before you must become a teacher, you need to have a professional education certificate. But we've gone past that, because what we need to do now, we have thousands of graduates who are educationists, who are trained teachers, who don't even have employment. We cannot continue to keep them on the seat simply because the labor organizations feel that, oh, because they have been employed, they should not be sacked. If you are employed and you're not doing what you're employed to do, you have no business staying in that employment. You need to leave. Because if you cannot impact the children, these children at that formative stage of their lives, if they miss that formative stage, trust me, they missed everything. And you're going to have a situation where the next generation are going to be generation of people who go asking for what they call, that's where we start hearing things like blocking.
But if you're talking about generations, I do clearly remember that the North has produced some of the best minds in the country from the 70s, the 80s, up till this time, maybe possibly even the 60s. So what has gone wrong? Because it seems that the kinds of education that we get up north isn't tallying with international standards.
Gimba is not just the North. It's generally everywhere. High school, my primary school and secondary school was in the city of Kano. I grew up in the North. I lived in the North, so I understand how it is. I went to school in the North, and some of the best guys who I competed in front row with were basically, were Kano boys, and they did very well, fantastically well. But what we have is a problem that has gone around the strata of the Nigerian society. In every state of the country, you have the civil servant, the teachers, who are more interested in having their business to run their business, and then take the government teaching service as a substitute that just adds to their living. So we need to rewrite the narrative. And my advice to them is this. First, ensure that I have no problems with people who want to have multiple income streams. But I have an issue with dedicating yourself to the duty for which you have been employed or engaged to do. You must ensure that that is done first and foremost before going out there to give credence to whatever you want to do for yourself as a subsequent earning. So government first, ensure that the
because we just have to, I'll allow you to continue your trail of thoughts, but we're going to have to take a very quick break. We'll be back after these messages. Join us again.